Being 7 o'clock, I'd like to call the regular council meeting of June 15th, 2021 for the Township of McNabb Braeside to order. Is there any disclosure of pecuniary interest in the general nature thereof? Seeing none, I understand before we go to the adoption of the agenda that we have some additions. Ms. Lee, can you give me the location for these additions, please?
Yes, we have two that we would like to add, and they're both under bylaws. So it'll be 2021-38 for the booking agreement, and 2021-39 for, Angela, help me out here. How do you say their last name?
Sorry, Andrew Milley development agreement.
Thank you.
Oh, I'm sorry, but I don't have any number 20 on my agenda sheet. Last thing I have is 18.
For the bylaw numbers?
Bylaws, they go in 13s.
Yeah, under section
Okay.
13.
So 13.6 and 13.7.
Where's, (13.6) is
2021-38.
in regards to,
Booking agreement.
and 13.7 is 2021-39
That's right.
in regards to,
A development agreement for Andrew Milley.
oh, yes. Okay. So council's heard the additions to the agenda. If there's no objection to those additions, I'll need a mover and a seconder for the agenda, please. Councillor Broom, Deputy Mayor Armstrong, all in favor? Carried, thank you. So there's no delegations. So we're down to item 6.1. Ms. Lee, can I use the same mover and seconder for all 5?
Yes, you can.
Thank you. So I need a mover and seconder for 6.1 through 5, please. Councillor Broom, Councillor Jacob. 6.1, public meeting. This is the adoption of the previous council meetings. The public meeting under the Planning Act, Hogan Heights on May the 11th. Questions or comments about the minutes? All in favor as presented? Carried, thank you. 6.2, public meeting under the Planning Act for Oceans Properties, May the 11th. Question, comment? Oh, no, okay. All those in favor? It's carried, thank you. 6.3, the regular council meeting of June the 1st. Questions, comments? All in favor of the minutes as presented? Carried. 6.4, meeting under the Planning Act, Levanter. Questions, comments? All in favor of the minutes as presented? Carried. Thank you. 6.5, public meeting under the Planning Act, Sparling on June the 8th. Questions, comments? All in favor of the minutes as presented? Carried. Thank you. We're on to reports of Committee of Council and other boards. 7.1, mover and seconder, please, for the equipment purchase RFP single axle plow truck. Deputy Mayor Armstrong, Councillor Jacob. Mr. Frew, do you want to speak on this?
Yeah, so the recommendation reads that Council of the Township of McNabb Braeside authorize the Public Works Department to issue a request for proposal for the purchase of a new single axle plow truck. So the existing asset management plan has this truck being replaced in 2022. However, discussions with a lot of neighboring municipalities when they've been ordering their recent plow trucks, it's been a lead time of about a year or over. So we felt that in order to get this truck in service prior to the 2022 fall winter season, we would need to make that order soon. So this authorization would allow us to do that.
Thank you. Is there any questions on that? Deputy Mayor Armstrong?
Thank you, sir. So sorry, I'm reading it on my phone here. So the asset plan has it to be replaced next year, which is great. But what provisions are going to be placed in the RFP to say that we're sending it out for a request for proposal? However, we reserve the right to not proceed with the purchase based on recommendations or approval from council at budget time. I'm assuming there'll be some type of verbiage in the RFP to ensure that we are not locked into a purchase that we have yet to approve in budget. I'm not saying we won't, but I'm just wondering, I'm assuming there'll be some type of verbiage in there that will safeguard that in the event that we have to not proceed with the purchase.
I think this is just an RFP, request for a proposal for a new truck. With the timing of the new truck, in all likelihood being in 2022, it would be dealt with in the 2022 budget. However, in order to have the truck in 2022, we need to give staff permission to go out and find a proposal of costs and everything for a new vehicle at this time. I know there is that possibility, but this is asset management. It's a vehicle that is, the existing vehicle is in pretty rough shape. So now it becomes also a safety component. So I can't see council refusing to purchase this vehicle in 2022. So Mr. Frew, did you have anything to add to that?
Yes, so the proposal will go out and then we'll get the respondents to that and the costs associated. So hopefully that will come, either in August or early September, that we would then bring those results to council where they would need to authorize that purchase. So the purchase will need to be made, in August or September of this year. The financing of that purchase can be, either dealt with at that time or at budget time, how they're going to allocate the funds to that project. In this report, we indicated, kind of a split between taxation and reserve accounts. So those discussions can occur, at that time. However, there will need to be a firm commitment of purchase made by council, in August or September in order to secure that truck and have it delivered prior to the winter season of 2022. So that's kind of the process that we're looking at in order to get it here in time.
We can approve we can go ahead and approve the purchase, but we don't have to pay for it until we receive the truck, correct?
That's correct. So the purchase will happen in 2022.
Thank you. Any other questions on this? All in favor of the recommendation? Carried, thank you. 7.2, the May 2021 Financial overview. I'm sorry, I'm having computer problems. I cannot get stuff to come up on the screen. Oh, just a second. There it is. I need a mover and seconder to get it on the floor, please. Councillor Broom, Deputy Mayor Armstrong. There is a recommendation there that council accept the May 21 financial overview report as information as submitted and circulated. Any questions or comments on the information Ms. Coughlin has supplied to us? None? All in favor of the recommendation? Carried. Thank you. 7.3 building department vehicle purchase. Mover and seconder, please. Councillor Jacob, Councillor Broom. This is a recommendation that council accept this as information is submitted. And further that the council authorize the purchase of a 2021 Ford Escape as quoted from Urban Ford in the amount of $36,040.22, tax included. The background information is there. Any discussion or comments on this recommendation? Deputy Mayor Armstrong?
Yeah, just a curiosity. Do we know when the delivery date is or expected delivery date should be?
Ms. Lee?
I believe this one was in stock, so he would actually get it right away. Which is why we were trying to get it through quickly so that they didn't sell it on us before we could give them approval.
Thank you. I think this is the right move for the township. Our CBO is extremely busy. And I see his mileage record each month and that, and he's putting in a lot of miles on his own vehicle, which is not really fair. I think council recommended some time ago that we go out and look for a vehicle for our CBO. Any questions or comments on this recommendation? Seeing none, all in favor? Carried, thank you. We're on to information items. Under correspondence, mover and seconder for 8.1, items 1 through 5. Councillor Broom, Councillor Jacob, any comments on items 1 through 5? I'd just like to make a comment on item 2 from Minister Yakabuski, congratulating McNabb Braeside and the town of Arnprior for the award that the archives received, being one of the better, most innovative archives in Ontario. So congratulations to the archives. Certainly all know they work hard and do a great job for our township. So, and actually going to have a visit tomorrow from the new archivist. So we'll be looking, I guess, through our new building and also over to the old building. I know they're pretty well finished collecting the files and everything that they needed from the township, so we can move on getting things tidied up. Anybody else on any other of the? None. So I need a mover and seconder for the 1 through 5 to receive his information, or we can just accept it as already had the mover and seconder. Yeah, okay. So all in favor of receiving items 8.1, 1 through 5 as information? Carried, thank you. 8.2, the interim interchange at Highway 17. and County Road 508 and 54. Moved by Councillor Broom, second by Councillor Jacob. Questions or comments on that? Councillor Jacob?
It is, of course, exciting to see this project move forward. The one comment that I might have is to ask through you to the CAO if this is something that we could post on our website as well as our social media channels.
They actually have a link that you can go to and see what's happening and also comment. I do believe we have that on our website, do we not, Ms. Lee?
I haven't seen it on there yet, but we can put it up there.
Yeah, okay. That would be, I think, if most people are looking for it, I think they'd be easier to look for it under the McNabb-Braeside website than try to go through the provincial one. So if we can have staff direction to add that to our own website, please. Thank you. Anything else on 8.2? All in favor of receiving this information? Carried. Thank you. On to item 9. There is 10 requests for support. Mover and seconder, Councillor Broom, Deputy Mayor Armstrong for all of them. To get it on the floor, Ms. Young, I know I've requested or I'm supporting 3 of the 10. Does anyone-
So Mayor Peckett asked for items 3, 8, and 9. Deputy Mayor Armstrong asked for items 1, 3, and 7. And Councillor Jacob asked for 1, 7, 9, and 10.
Okay, so I'll have to go back. I have my sheet here. Maybe I wrote the wrong number. I'm supporting 3, 7, and 8.
Okay.
Sorry about that. So which is the first one up for that has been supported, Ms. Young?
Item number 1 was supported by Brian and Oliver.
Okay. Deputy Mayor Armstrong, you speak on that?
Yeah, I just had a quick chat with Lindsay today on this and asked for her opinion. Although we don't have all that many going to LPAT, she did agree that this is a concern for those municipalities that do have to, and should we need to, that she would be in agreement with the extension of time or what is being proposed here in this request. So based on that, I would like to support staff in the event that the unfortunate incident occurs where we find ourselves in that process.
Thank you. Comment, Councillor Jacob?
I think from my perspective, when the province initially made these changes, they weren't something that I necessarily felt was necessary. The speeding up of the development process is indeed a helpful tool in some municipalities, but it really does tie the hands of staff in some cases where some of these timelines aren't necessarily as long as they should be, particularly on complex cases that require a little more study and review. So I think returning them to where they were previously is the right decision for the province to make.
Thank you. Councillor Broom, you have a comment? No, I do. I'm totally against it. And my reason is being, if you can't do in 3 months, if it takes you 4 months to do something and you want to reduce it, or it's 3 months now and you want to make it 4 months, if you can't do it in 3 months, you're not doing your job. My opinion. And planning, and that needs to be, in my opinion, needs to be speeded up. There's way too much delay as it is in getting things done. And as you all know, I strive continuously to push things to get things done. I can't stand taking an extra 30, 60, 90 days to let somebody somewhere look through paperwork and make up a decision. I feel that if they can't do it in 3 months, they really can't do it at all. So that's my opinion anyways. So anyway, we'll have a vote of those in favor of the motion. Those opposed? Tied, the motion fails. Thank you. The next one, Ms. Young. You're muted.
Yeah.
Item number 2, there was no one. Item number 3, there was Mayor Peckett and Deputy Mayor Armston.
Thank you. Deputy Mayor, do you wish to speak first? No, thank you. I think anything where we can help assist small organizations to fundraise and do charitable work and help out their community and the people that are residing in there. If lottery licensing will help them achieve that, I think it's a good thing. So that's why I voted in favor of this one. Anyone else a comment? All in favor? It's carried. Thank you. Next one, Ms. Young.
Item 7, which was Councillor Jacob and Mayor Peckett.
Thank you. Councillor Jacob, I know you've been getting some calls and emails about speeding. I get them constantly. There's been conversation now at County Council, even again today in our operations committee, to the point where if McNabb Braeside decides to support this motion, that the county wants to receive our resolution of support and the actual resolution itself, so that it can be passed on to all municipalities, because I thought this would have been sent to all municipalities, but there was a couple at the operations committee today who said they hadn't seen it or didn't know anything about it. So I said that if we passed it, we'd be happy to send our resolution of support and the actual request for support or original bylaw for support onto them, so it can be spread to all 17 municipalities in Renfrew County. And I would hope they would pass that on to the city of Pembroke as well. It is a growing problem. It's not just here, it is everywhere. I won't go on into any further details about notifying police, because if they're not aware of speeding problems throughout Renfrew County at this point, and I do understand they can't be everywhere at once, but maybe once they could be somewhere. Doesn't seem to be happening too often. Anyway, having said that, I contacted Jim McBain some time ago about looking into photo radar being run through the bylaw enforcement. And I contacted him after that again, and there's still waiting for The other two municipalities, he was trying to get us 3 in a group. Hasn't heard back from 1 or 2 of them, so I'm tired of waiting. I would like councils to give staff direction to delve into the costs and the procedure whereby McNabb Braeside could obtain its own photo radar. There may be an opportunity to work with other municipalities along with that, but I think somebody has to start, and I'm quite willing to be the municipality that starts looking into this for this area. There are other municipalities all across Ontario that are starting to do this. So perhaps if we could give staff direction to start looking into the costing of photo radar and what it would take to operate the photo radar within the municipality of McNabb Braeside. Comments, Deputy Mayor Armstrong?
I've been a huge supporter of photo radar since it's first was discussed, over a decade or so ago with the provincial government. One of the biggest arguments that was made against it was what if the owner of the vehicle was not driving the car at the time and he or she had loaned it to someone and they were speeding? My response to that has always been, then take it up with the person that you loaned the car to. It's a danger on the highway, it's a danger on the county roads, it's a danger on our municipal roads. And I'm fully in support of this, and if we have to go on our own and do this, sir, I'd be in 100% support. We would be able to show, even if we broke even, that it would be, well, first of all, I doubt we would break even. I believe that there would be enough infractions in our small municipality that would offset the costs of implementing the program. I just hope that someone at 32 Finley Street isn't one of them. Thanks, sir.
Thank you. I know in British Columbia, it's the owner of the car, and definitely in Australia, it's the owner of the car. The owner is responsible for the vehicle they own. If they choose to loan it to someone who's going to speed or drive carelessly with their car, that's entirely up to them. But the owner will be getting the ticket. Any other questions or comments on this, Councillor Jacob?
Just as you mentioned earlier, even in the last week, I think I've had a dozen speeding complaints. Just today, I've had 3 from the village of White Lake. So it is absolutely an issue that's getting worse. Even in my area, where 6 or 7 complaints have been submitted so far, this stretch of River Road, I've seen the speeding on it too, just sitting on my front deck. And I really think this kind of a resolution is a progression from where council was last year when we supported automatic speed radar within community safety zones and school zones, when we supported that resolution last year. And I think this is just moving us further in the right direction. And I really do hope that the provincial government will take our warning and implement this as soon as they can.
Thank you. The one other thing I forgot, Ms. Lee, the county also wanted us to to send to the county a request to have county roads within McNabb Braeside included with the enforcement of photo radar as it goes ahead. And I think that's a thing that we need to do, because there's a lot of the county roads are in better condition and straight and just incite a lot of speeding. So for our residents in McNabb Braeside, all I can say is that we'll work at this as fast as we can. As I said before, we have been waiting. We don't seem to be getting anywhere. So we will definitely push forward. I guess the first call would go to our bylaw enforcement company. If they haven't gotten anything settled or done yet, then I would ask staff to proceed with going on our own. So that would be a staff direction, and maybe a thumbs up from council would suffice that we're in agreement. So Councillor Jacob, are you in agreement? Okay, carried. Okay, the staff direction has been approved by council. Ms. Lee. Thank you. The next one, Ms. Young.
The next one was 9.8, and
sorry.
we only have a mover, which is
Are we-
Mayor Peckett.
Are we gonna vote on the actual request for support following the staff direction?
The 9.7.
Yeah,
Okay, so all in favor of the staff direction? Carried.
no, not of the staff direction, of the request for support that's on the agenda.
Oh, sorry. All in favor of supporting the request in the agenda is carried. Thank you. Now 9.8,
9.8, we have a mover, but no seconder.
Councillor Broom.
I'll second it.
Thank you. This again is, this refers to the ever escalating cost of insurance for municipalities. It's just becoming beyond our capacity to keep paying these high insurance rates. Something needs to be done, I think, on the provincial level. Any questions or comments on this one? Seeing none, all in favor of supporting the motion, or request for support rather? It's carried. Thank you. Next one, Ms. Young.
9.9, we have a mover, Councillor Jacob, and we have no seconder.
Do we have a seconder? Deputy Mayor Armstrong? Councillor Jacob, do you want to speak on this?
I think the reason that I support this is because what we've seen the impact of the LPAT changes, which were then reversed. Back when the changes were initially implemented in 2017, the idea was that amendments that were passed by council and appealed to LPAT would only be considered if they contradicted either a provincial policy or a municipal planning policy. And I think that's the way that it should be. There should be some preference given to our local planning policy, given that we're the ones setting it, rather than giving the LPAT the same leeway that the Ontario Municipal Board had, that almost all councils in Ontario had criticized for a number of years before that, which necessitated those changes. While I don't necessarily agree with the second operative statement to eliminate LPAT entirely, I think that's a long-term objective that would take a long time to actually get into action. But it would be something that would be helpful to work towards, because as council is aware, OMB LPAT hearings are a very difficult way of settling conflicts, particularly when it's a conflict like the Miller Quarry or the Blue Skies, the two local examples in recent past. So that's why I support it. And I think going back to the 2017 changes is what will prioritize municipal, our local planning documents.
Thank you. Deputy Mayor Armstrong?
Yeah, I 100% agree that there should be more input and thought based on what municipal governments think about planning decisions within their municipality, but specific to this request is the elimination of LPAT, which I think are two different things. Councillor Jacob, I get your point that if we were to oppose this, it would send a message to do something about LPAT. But I don't think the elimination of LPAT is the right idea. I think making modifications to LPAT is more in tune with what the ultimate goal would be. So I wouldn't be supporting the elimination of LPAT, but if another resolution came through with the revisions made to the LPAT program, then yeah, I would support that, but not the elimination of it altogether. I just wanted to explain to council why I wouldn't be supporting the elimination of LPAT, even though I do agree with some of what Councillor Jacob has said. Thank you.
I have, I was thinking along the same lines, Deputy Mayor, and I think the solution would be, because I don't want to completely eliminate some form of process whereby residents can question decisions made at the council level on planning items. So what I'm going to suggest, Councillor Jacob, if you would take it upon yourself to rewrite a motion along the ideas that you first spoke of, without the idea of eliminating LPAT completely. And if you can bring that, go through Ms. Lee, of course, and bring back that to a future council meeting. And I would strongly suggest then that this particular motion as is worded, that we not support it. Any further comments? So I'll ask all those not in favor of supporting this motion. Gotcha. Carried. Pay attention. Okay, we're on to the next one, Ms. Young.
Item 10, we have a mover, Councillor Jacob, and no seconder.
Do I have a seconder? Deputy Mayor Armstrong, seconds. Councillor Jacob, you wish to speak on this one?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I support this one because of, well, first of all, the number of cemeteries in our municipality and the reality that should a cemetery go under, it becomes the responsibility of the municipality for upkeep and maintenance, whether the care and maintenance funds remain in the fund or not. And I ultimately think that there should be some provision for support from the government of Ontario in those cases where a cemetery has been abandoned, because it should not necessarily be completely borne by township ratepayers in this kind of an example, which is kind of why, of course, we provide grants to our municipal cemeteries annually to make sure that they can maintain their operations. And this would provide us the assurance that if they weren't able to, that we would have some funding coming in to support the continued maintenance of those services into the future.
Okay, so if I understand correctly, this is for the cemeteries that are municipally owned? Because we have 2 private cemeteries within the township that we do not own. Councillor Jacob?
So to my understanding, this would be related to those private cemeteries. Should their cemetery board dissolve and they not exist anymore, the ownership of that cemetery would default to the municipality and be considered an abandoned cemetery. And it would become our responsibility and our taxpayers' responsibility to continue maintaining that in perpetuity.
Thank you. Questions? Deputy Mayor Armstrong?
So I was looking at this and I was thinking, I don't understand the scale of the issue in other municipalities. I think I understand the scale of it here. And I didn't see it as being overly burdensome for the township of McNabb Braeside should in the event come that we had to maintain all of the cemeteries in our, worst case scenario, all the cemeteries in our municipality. I think there is, as it says in here, there's a local history and cemeteries are landmarks themselves and hold great historical value worldwide. I think there's a certain municipal responsibility to maintain these in the event that they are abandoned for that specific reason alone. And I didn't see it as being an overly burdensome issue from a cost perspective from the township. Maybe I don't understand how it would be impacted in a larger urban center. But I was just looking at it quasi selfishly from our perspective, and I didn't think it was a huge deal. And I think our residents would be in support of us being the caretakers of the cemetery should they be abandoned. So I guess I understand the point from another municipality's perspective. I just don't think it really applies to ours. So that's why I didn't put forward a request for, or not a request, but a recommendation for support.
Thank you, Ms. Lee, please.
So it can be very costly and time consuming for staff to take care of cemeteries. And we have one that we do right now, and it takes a lot of time. And sometimes time that we don't have. So just put that out there, that if we had others that we had to do that are currently owned by other people or run by other people, it would be quite a bit of work added to our staff.
Thank you. Councillor Jacob.
Just to kind of put it into perspective, if we take Goshen Cemetery and the cemetery in Rhodey's Bay, if both of those were to default as an abandoned cemetery, we would have to bring our grass cutting equipment all the way to them roughly every 2 weeks. The staff time involved repairing a monument. If a monument is leaning too much and becomes a public safety hazard, you have to repair the foundation and sometimes the base of the monument. Foundation costs $400 to $1,000 depending on the monument company. If a monument falls over because, well, for instance, a township snowplow hits it, or something like that, then we would be responsible for fixing that. And if there aren't any care and maintenance funds available within the care and maintenance fund, or if there aren't any graves available anymore in that cemetery, it can become a very difficult process, even with regular maintenance of cemeteries, including monument maintenance. That can be up to $5,000 annually, depending what state the monuments are in.
Thank you. So my thought would be, why wouldn't we pass on this motion and should something happen in the township of McNabb Braeside, we know we have to step up and take over it. So I don't know why we would bother supporting this motion, unless I'm missing something. Councillor Jacob?
So the point of this motion is not to stop us from taking over. We would still take over a cemetery, but it's to provide additional funding from the province so that taking it over wouldn't be as big a burden as it might be to the municipality. So it's ultimately in that future scenario, should we have to do it, we would have a grant from the province coming in to support us in that endeavor. So we would still take it over, we just get some money to assist.
Thanks for that clarification. Any other comments? All those in favor of supporting the motion? Carried. Thank you. Ms. Young, another one? That's it?
No, that's it.
So do we need mover and seconder for the entire list, Ms. Lee, as information?
No, we're good. Thank you.
Good. Okay. Thank you. Unfinished business. Claybank Park Community Garden Committee. 10.1, mover and seconder. Deputy Mayor Armstrong, Councillor Broom. There's there's a letter from Councillor Lang that she would like. Ms. Lee, you have some comments?
I was just gonna say to you that that's the purpose of having this on, is just to appoint Councillor Lang right now. And then we're waiting for applications to come in for the rest of the committee, which will then be brought to council to make the committee.
Thank you. Questions, comments? All in favor? Carried, thank you. 10.2, the Empire Library Agreement. Mover and seconder, please. Councillor Broom, Deputy Mayor Armstrong. Questions, comments? Deputy Mayor Armstrong.
Actually, sir, my only question is, do you have any additional information based on conversations that you've had above and beyond the email that was sent and what's captured here in the resolution?
I've had a brief conversation. I read over the agreement, draft agreement sent from the public library. I have a lot of concerns. I know staff has concerns. I know other council members have concerns. We're in the process of setting up a meeting between the library board, the town of Arnprior and McNabb Braeside. We decided some time ago that Deputy Mayor Armstrong and myself would be the council people on this committee. I would like to have CAO and our treasurer also at that meeting. And it has to be brought in as a three-way agreement. I know I think the letter or draft is suggesting an agreement between the library and McNabb separately, but that can't happen. It has to be involved three ways with the town of Arnprior. The other thing is this meeting is going to take place right near the end of June. And according to the existing agreement, if the township of McNabb Braeside decides that we cannot reach an agreement with the library board and the town of Arnprior, that we have to give 6 months notice. The problem that we have is that if we go past the end of June without giving the notice for the end of December, then it would be the end of June in 2022 that the existing agreement would be in place. And I certainly want to have a new agreement in place before fall, or no later than this fall, so that it would be brought up at budget time. So I need council's approval, and I've already talked to Ms. Scott about this and explained to her why we would need to do this, that we need to have a letter drafted by Ms. Lee would draft the letter, and that we would be ending our agreement with the public library effective December 31st, 2021. Should an agreement not be reached before that. That way, if the negotiations don't go well, then we don't have to wait till June of next year before we implement a different way of providing library services to our residents. So it's not a threat by any means, because I do want to come to an agreement. But there, in my opinion, there has to be something better there for McNabb Braeside. And hopefully we can, through negotiation, we can reach that point where we won't have to cancel the agreement in total at the end of the year. And that's about where we're at. It's not, as I said, it's not a threat. It's something that we would have to have. And if the original meeting, and I can't see the meeting in late June being the beginning and the end in one meeting. I don't think that's going to happen, because even if the committees can agree on something, they still have to take it back to their board members and to the Empire Council members and to the McNabb Council members. So the end is not going to be in June. Therefore, I need to have this letter, and it will, in all likelihood, be sent to them in order to protect the township from a further 6 months. Questions or comments? Councillor Jacob.
So originally, when I reviewed this item on the agenda, I did have many questions, and I thank the CAO for having time amidst the AMCTO conference to give me a little bit of time to chat about it. I don't have any concerns with the resolution as is written. I think the best way forward is through the Municipal Library Use Committee, the 4-person committee, to work on that methodology review, to see where we're at and to see where if there's any smaller amendments to be made to the current agreement. However, as the mayor just proposed, I don't support terminating the current agreement at the end of this year. I would support amendments to the current agreement to address some of the concerns the township has and that our staff has. But I don't think it's appropriate for us to pull out of the agreement or even threaten to pull out of the agreement, given that our desire is to reach an agreement with the town of Empire and the library board, and to adopt a new agreement, whereby after the 30th, should all 3 parties agree, it is possible to cancel the current agreement and introduce a new one, as long as everyone agrees to that. Therefore, I don't think it's necessary for us to give notice at this point and risk the possibility of, should negotiations go longer than fiscal 2021, for us to be in a position where we pull our residents out of the library agreement at the end of the year.
So, Councillor Jacob, I don't know whether you heard me say this is not a threat. It's to protect the residents of McNabb Braeside. And yes, we would love to have an agreement, and in all likelihood hope to have an agreement before the end of the year. But should the agreement not be reached, or a complete change in how we provide services, library services to our residents, may be on the table as well. So therefore, I disagree with your comment on saying this is threatening the library board. I also disagree with how the negotiation teams should be made up. I think it's imperative that there be at least 2 members from Empire Council, 2 members from McNabb Council, 2 members from the library board. I understand Mr. Luca takes notes and everything, and I certainly feel that in this agreement, our CAO and our treasurer but most definitely our CAO needs to be present, so. Any other questions or Councillor Jacob?
So just to clarify, when I mentioned the Municipal Library Use Committee, the reason that I mentioned it is because in the current agreement, it's proposed that that's the body that would do the methodology review. And that body just includes 4 members as voting members, and it doesn't, at least in terms of the agreement, doesn't prohibit any other staff. So I agree that it would be in the best interest of everyone for our staff to be present, as well as staff from the town, and a second member of council if that's the way the township would like to go. I don't see any problems with that. But I do see the benefit in following the current agreement and staying in the current agreement into the long term.
That's exactly, as I read the draft that was sent, it's exactly the agreement we had. I don't see hardly any changes, or if any changes, other than going from 6 months being able to remove yourself from the agreement to a year. And that's one thing I have a problem with. If you can't get your act together in 6 months. Anyway, any other comments? Deputy Mayor Armstrong?
Just one, sir, and that's, I'm thankful that a meeting is going to be taking place in the near future, so that we avoid the back and forth in emails that took place a few months ago, that I think there was some misinterpretation on both sides that led to unnecessary disagreements, shall I say it nicely, that can be avoided if we just had a face-to-face meeting with all parties involved. And I think the agreement that we have in place is pretty close to being a really good deal for everybody. So there's no need to get into another email exchange that could open itself to misinterpretation. So I'm glad that there's one coming up in the next couple of weeks. That's all.
Thank you. Any other comments? So I guess there's a recommendation or a motion that I'll move. I need a seconder for to have a letter prepared for the end of June to protect the residents of McNabb Braeside. Do I have a seconder? No? Okay. Then if things go sideways, you'll be stuck with the current agreement and everything as is until next June, provided we don't come to an agreement. So I guess we'll be optimistic and hope that 6 people can come to an agreement. Any other comments on 10.2? Councillor Jacob?
Just one kind of more procedurally, I guess. So I am in favor of the recommendation brought forward by staff. So when council votes on it, I will be voting in favor.
Well, that's basically what we just talked about and agreed to. Councillor Broom?
There's really nothing to vote on if the meeting hasn't happened yet, correct?
No, it's the recommendation also includes that we contact them and have a meeting.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So the meeting is already being set up.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
So if there's no other questions, all those in favor of the recommendation? Carried, thank you. 10.3 Burnstown and White Lake Beach Enforcement. Mover and seconder, please. Councillor Broom, Deputy Mayor Armstrong, Ms. Lee.
So I asked bylaw to enforce numbers at both beaches over the weekend, as we've been having many issues with overcrowding there and parking issues. I received notice from bylaw that it went very well. They only had an issue with one person being extremely upset. And from what I can see on other media methods, overall, people were happy that it was being policed, for lack of a better word, so that there wasn't parking issues and there wasn't too many people on the beach. We also reminded the county nicely to please put up the signs, which they did get done. And I would like to continue doing this for the rest of the summer, if council approves of it. The funding will come out of the COVID money that we received from the province. And so it wouldn't cost us any taxation money.
Thank you. Questions, comments? Councillor Jacob?
I just wanted to thank staff for bringing this forward. I think having visited the beach both Sunday and driven by on Saturday, it looked like everything was working fine. And from the feedback that I've heard, everything was fine. There is still a concern among the public that out-of-town users are getting to use township facilities, but township residents may not be able to, given the limitations. And that might be something for council to think about and consider in future years. But I think the recommendation being brought forward by staff is a good recommendation, and it's lucky that this year we have the COVID-19 Safe Restart Agreement money to provide this kind of a service. In future years, it might be a little more difficult to absorb this within the operating budget. So it might be something for staff to look at in terms of considering an increase to the bylaw enforcement budget as we move into budget 2022.
Thank you. Any other comments? Deputy Mayor Armstrong?
I know it's not in this recommendation, and this is not directed at Councillor Jacob, but there's not very many things that gets my blood to boil more than any of our residents that allude to those people coming to our municipality and using our infrastructure. It really makes me angry, and I don't get angry very often. To those people that say that those people should not be coming to use our infrastructure, I ask them, how many times have you used their infrastructure as you go shopping or you go to your entertainment outside of our municipality? It goes both ways. And I maybe should not say anymore, but it irks me when our residents accuse those people of using our infrastructure. It's not the way that I envision our residents behaving.
I'll just
Thank
make
you.
just be one comment on that. It's a public.
Exactly, sir.
Councillor Jacob?
Just to clarify, I wasn't insinuating that I necessarily agree with the residents that have brought that up. I just have had a fair number of them, at least 10 that have mentioned that over the last few months, and a few that mentioned it last year as well. So it's just a consideration to look at. Should the cost of bylaw enforcement continue next year, perhaps implementing some form of non-user parking fee for the beach side would be an opportunity to recoup some of those costs for bylaw enforcement. But of course, that's a conversation for council to have in the future, since it's not part of this recommendation.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? All in favor of the recommendation? Carried. Thank you. 10.4 OPP Renfrew Detachment Board Proposal. Mover and seconder. Deputy Mayor Armstrong, Councillor Jacob. Now this, in my screen, it's not in blueprint, therefore it won't come up on the split screen. So I have nothing to go by here other than we decided some time ago that we would consider a council member to sit on this board. And as Councillor Jacob has already connected with the OPP on the, help me out here, Councillor Jacob, what's it called? The Community Safety Board, is it?
Community Safety and Wellbeing Planning Advisory Council.
Oh, good. Okay. Perhaps you could mention to them that community safety would be really served much better if we could catch a lot more speeders. However, seeing that Councillor Jacob has already has connection in there, it would be my suggestion that Councillor Jacob be appointed to this new board proposal, whatever board it's going to be called now. Questions, comments? All in favor? Carried. Got yourself some more work, Councillor Jacob. Under new business, I asked this one to be put on. This is an award received by one of our residents, Angela Havey, from Big Brothers Big Sisters of Renfrew County, the Norm McEwen In-School Mentor of the Year Award. I was fortunate enough to have a conversation with Miss Havey when I went to their home to present her with a certificate of appreciation from the residents of McNabb Braeside. I asked if she was going to be on the link this evening for the council meeting. Miss Lee, is Miss Havey on? No? No, okay. Anyway, it's just in chatting with her, she works one-on-one with different kids in the schools and received this award for the dedicated work and help that she's provided for children. And just another example of a McNabb Braeside resident stepping up and doing a great job for not only our community, but other residents in the area. So I'm going to congratulate Ms. Havey and thank her so much for her efforts. Any other comments or questions? Thanks very much. On to bylaws. 13.1 bylaw 2021-33 site plan agreement authorization of lot 6 Braeburn Estates. Mover and seconder. Councillor Broom, Councillor Jacob. Questions? All in favor? Carried. Thank you. 13.2 bylaw 2021-34 site plan agreement authorization lot 6 Madawaska Shores. Mover and seconder. Councillor Broom, Deputy Mayor Armstrong. Questions? All in favor? Carried. Thank you. 13.3 bylaw 2021-35 zoning bylaw amendment Sparling. Mover and seconder. Councillor Broom, Councillor Jacob. Questions? All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Bylaw 13.4 2021-36 development agreement authorization Sparling. Mover and seconder. Councillor Broom, Deputy Mayor Armstrong. Questions? All in favor? Carried. Thank you. 13.5 bylaw 2021, 37 fees and charges. Mover and seconder. Councillor Jacob, Deputy Mayor Armston. This, if you look through it, it was just the fees being added in for a second mini home on the same residential property. Any comments? Ms. Lee, please.
We're also adding the cost of the gardening plots at Claybank Park.
Oh, okay. I missed that one. Any questions? All in favor? Carried. Thank you. The addition, 13.6, bylaw 2021-38. The booking agreement. Mover and seconder. Deputy Mayor Armston, Councillor Broom. Questions? Councillor Jacob.
Just a comment for council's information. I had a couple of questions that the CAO was gracious enough to answer. This is something that is funded out of modernization, but there is the $4,000 annual, or approximately $4,000 annual fee that would be funded out of taxation in future budget cycles. So just for council information.
So my question is, what happens when this fund runs out? How much is it going to cost us at that point? Anyone?
So it's a one-time fee that we're using out of the modernization fund, and it's the annual fee is paid out of taxation that was approved during budget.
Okay.
This is just on here to approve the agreement because we do our agreements by bylaw.
Okay, so I saw there was like $344, is that a month charge? On top of the one-time 4,500? So it's going to cost us in excess of over $4,000 a year on top of that. And my last would be, is there a charge per transaction?
For us, no, for the user, if they use a credit card or something, then whatever, there may be a fee for that for them. But no, and the $4,000 annual was known at budget time and approved.
Okay. So the transaction charges onto the person making the booking if they're using a credit card.
That is my understanding at this time, yes.
Okay, so that's good. Good, Councillor Broom? Thank you. Any other questions or comments? All in favor? Carried. Thank you. 13.7, 2021-39. Development agreement with Andrew Melly. Mover and seconder, Councillor Broom, Councillor Jacob. Your comment on this one? No? I can't get this on my screen. Is it a recommendation or a bylaw or?
It's a bylaw for the development agreement.
Okay, sorry. Okay. If there's no questions, all in favor of the bylaw? Carried. Thank you. Okay. We're on to I guess there's, I guess I missed new business, right? Did I pass that by? Anyway, I
No.
just, so I'm gonna, before I move on to the public questions, I'm gonna pass information on to all of council and staff. As of last Thursday, I received a call from Minister Stephen Clark in regards to the zoning amendments, bylaw.
So-
Ms. Lee?
That's still not supposed to be shared. I received an email today to keep it confidential for now.
From,
The minister's office.
oh, I didn't get that email. Okay, so I won't tell you what's going on. Everybody else? Very soon. Okay. Any members of public to speak?
We have a closed session too, just to remind you.
Okay. But as members of public, is there anyone? Mr. Melly?
Yeah, hi. I just want to take the opportunity to thank the council for being good enough to add the item on under the bylaws. It came about a bit of a last minute from my end of it, so I appreciate you folks dealing with it tonight. It's a good opportunity to take the time to thank you, and particularly I'd like to thank Angela for. It's nice to deal with somebody who's got the wherewithal to help guide me through this process, which at times was a little bit daunting, but just, I don't want to take up your time. Just want to thank you for approving it, and we're looking forward to building the house. That's what the bylaw was for, the agreement to put in a water softener when we build. So thank you all, and appreciate your efforts.
Well, thanks very much for your comments. I think you'll find that this council likes to get things done and move on. So you're very welcome for having this added on. I'm glad we added it on because it's another thing done, and we can move on to other projects. So thanks for your kind words, sir. Any others, Ms. Lee? No? Okay. Now, we do have a closed meeting, so I need a mover and seconder to move into close, please. Councillor Broom, Deputy Mayor Armstrong. So we will be moving into close as soon as notice of the next meetings, August 3rd, August 17th. The special meeting a week from Tuesday at 6 p.m. Make sure Councillor Lang is made aware. Confirmatory bylaw, please. Mover and seconder. Councillor Jacob, Deputy Mayor Armstrong, all in favor? Carried. Thank you. We're adjourned. Thanks very much.
See you next Tuesday.
Good night. Good meeting, guys, girls.